Hey book nerds, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know I've been gone for over 2 years now and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to be doing like a little life update just to kind of get you guys up to speed on like what I've been doing and where I've been and all of that. So I will leave the timestamps for every section of this video in the comments down below, but this video is mainly a TBR video, so I'm going to be telling you guys about all of the books that I am planning and hoping to read in June of 2022. So my reading has been going very well this year. I am at 50 books read so far in 2022 and my goal for the year is 100 books. So I'm halfway through. Things are going really well so far. I have read some really great books, and I will definitely update you guys on what I've read and my thoughts about those books in a separate video. So without further ado, let's jump right in. The first book that I'm going to show you is actually my current read, and it is The Long Weekend by Jilly Macmillan. So this is her most recent release. It's one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and it's about these 3 couples who go on like a retreat in a cabin, and someone set them up with like, I think it's like a deadly game, or someone is just trying to mess with them and people end up dying. So this sounds like something that would be right up my alley. I love thrillers that are like in isolated settings, so like caught in a snowstorm, in a secluded cabin and things like that. So I definitely feel like I'm going to enjoy this book. This is the first Jilly Macmillan book that I'm going to be reading. I do have other books of hers on my TBR that I physically have. I just haven't read them yet, but this one is the one that kind of gripped me the most, and if I enjoy this, I will definitely go ahead and pick up the other ones. So I am just like a few chapters in. So far nothing much has happened, but the atmosphere is set and I am very excited to see where this is gonna go. So this is the first book on my TBR. Next up, I have the book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I have no idea what this is about. I saw this book highly recommended on Instagram and most specifically on Crime by the Books page. She loves Simone St. James's books, and this is her most recent release. I think it came out in April if I'm not mistaken, and I've had it since then, but I haven't read it yet. But I am very excited to read this because I think it's a thriller that's kind of like investigation based, and I don't read very many like investigative police detective type thrillers. I did read one recently though and quite enjoyed it. It's not an investigative book per se, but it is like a student who is part of a legal team and she's trying to figure out if the person is actually guilty or not. That book, by the way, is The Murder Rule by Dervla McTiernan. The cover's right here. So it's kind of in the same vein, but I have never read a thriller that's like specifically a detective or like police oriented. So I really am intrigued to see if I'm going to like this take on thrillers. So this is the second book on my TBR for this month. Up next, I have City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare. So these books are very near and dear to my heart. The Mortal Instruments series is one of the first series that got me into reading when I was a teenager. The last time I have read these, I was in high school, and I haven't read them since. I do have a very extensive Cassandra Clare collection, and you actually see it on this shelf right behind me. The Infernal Devices I have actually read multiple times. I think I've read them maybe like 4 or 5 times at this point, and I absolutely love them, but I have never reread The Mortal Instruments, and I felt like this year was the year to do that, to kind of get back to the roots of what made me a reader in a sense. So I actually bought new copies. They are right here, and these are the editions where the spines make up the Brooklyn Bridge, and I bought them because I want to annotate them and tab them. Right here I have the original hardcovers, first editions, and these are some of the first books that I ever bought myself. So these are like some of the first books that I've ever had in my collection, and I love them a lot, and I do not want to annotate them, but I really do want to annotate the story if that makes sense. So yes, I did buy another set of the Mortal Instruments. I wanted this particular set anyways because the Mortal Instruments, the Infernal Devices, and every single book in Cassandra Clare's Shadow World is very near and dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite fictional universes ever. So like you see behind me, I have a very extensive Cassandra Clare shelf, and I was going to buy these anyway, but they actually were on sale, so I bought them all at once, and I have been slowly making my way through them, and it has been a blast so far. So in my reread, I am finally up to the 4th book. It's, I think, the shortest one in here, if I'm not mistaken. So this should go by really quickly, and in general, I read Cassandra Clare's books very, very quickly. There's just something about her writing style that just flows really well and makes it easy to kind of binge really fast. So I am very excited to continue with the story. Next up, we have The Island by Adrian Mckinty. So last year, I think it was last year, or it could have been in 2020, I read his debut, which is The Chain, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that the concept was really interesting, and I thought it was well done. I didn't particularly like the ending of that book, but the rest of it was pretty on point. So I only recently found out that he was coming out with a new book. This came out May 17th, and I bought it, I think, the day after it was released. So I am very excited to get to this and see what he has in store for us. I feel like this is going to be a story that's kind of in the same vein as The Chain. Pretty sure this takes place on an island, and this is also a setting that I enjoy, along with like snowstorms, secluded cabins, and all of that. I'm reading the cover, and apparently this is going to be a TV series, so that's interesting. So I just briefly read the synopsis. These main characters move to a secluded island that's near the Netherlands or in the Netherlands, and they quickly have a lot of trouble with the locals that live there. I think the locals may have kind of like a sect or a cult mentality, so this is definitely going to be an interesting read. And after The Chain, I'm very excited to see what Adrian Mckinty has to offer us. Last but not least, on my TBR, I have Hide by Kiersten White. This book came out at the end of May, and it's supposed to be a supernatural thriller slash horror. So I think it's about this group of kids who are in like a contest or a game that takes place in an abandoned amusement park. This just sounds like it's so up my alley. I am very excited. Not only am I excited about the premise of this book, but I'm also very excited because I just love Kiersten White's writing, and I'm very excited to see what her take on an adult thriller is, because she has written a lot of young adult. So I'm very excited to see how she kind of adapts her writing style for an older audience. I'm not sure if this is her adult debut. I think it is, but I'm not quite sure. This is also another one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I am so excited to read it. It's actually pretty short. It's under 250 pages. This book is absolutely gorgeous. It even has like a map of the park on the inside. So I just feel like this is going to be a generally fun time, and I cannot wait to read it. So there you have it. These are the 5 books that I am hoping to read this month. I usually read more than 5 books, but I am currently in the middle of like a reading slump, so I don't know how many books I'm actually going to get to this month. I also usually listen to 1 or 2 audiobooks a month, and I haven't picked those out yet, but you guys will definitely know which ones I've read in my wrap-up, and I'm also planning on filming some reading vlogs as well, so you guys will get all of the info about that in those videos. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of these and what your thoughts were. I would be really interested to know kind of what to expect and if you guys enjoyed them and all of that. So that was my TBR for the month of June. I'm very excited about each and every one of the books on my TBR, and I can't wait to read them. And this concludes the TBR portion of the video, so if you guys don't want to stick around to find out like where I've been and all of that, you can definitely feel free to X out of the video. But I did want to take some time to kind of explain my absence. I'm not going to go into too much detail, obviously. A lot has happened in the past 2 years, but I did want to share a little bit of what I went through just because some of it was really challenging, and if some of you guys are living something similar, I just kind of want to let you guys know that it does get better. I'm trying to think of like a smooth way to transition into this part of the video, but there's not really a good way when you talk about like topics that are a bit more serious. So I guess I'm just gonna kind of dive right in. The last time I uploaded was, I think, at the end of 2019, so just a couple of months before the pandemic hit. And at the beginning of the pandemic, everything was fine. Like, I was finishing up my school semester, and honestly, like I said, I think things were pretty fine. And then a couple of weeks into the pandemic, my ex-boyfriend and I broke up. We were together for 3 years, we were living together and all of that, and it was just a very stressful time to move out of my apartment right smack dab in the worst part of the COVID pandemic. I essentially had to move back home with my parents, so I'm in the same house where I started my channel. Actually, if you guys go back and watch some of my older videos, I'm in that same house. I'm just in a different, bigger room because I obviously have a lot more stuff than I did than before I moved out initially. I think it was in 2018 when I moved out. So that was a pretty hard adjustment. The breakup itself was kind of traumatic because it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. To this day, I still don't really have any answers to what happened, and I think I'm okay with that. Sometimes relationships just don't work out and you don't necessarily always get an explanation why, and it took me a long time to come to terms with that. But today, 2 years later, I feel like I am in finally a good place. I've been over the breakup for over a year now, and I'm doing very well. I'm very happy. So I think that's pretty much the main thing that explained why I stopped uploading. Like I said, the breakup was traumatic for me, and it took me a long time to adjust to life back home with my family. And also just in general, it was a hard time while I was going through that because the pandemic had just hit, everything was closed. I had temporarily lost my job, and it just wasn't a good time. At that time also, I started being medicated for my anxiety. At first I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't think it would help much, but I quickly saw that it did help. I have 3 anxiety diagnoses. I have generalized anxiety disorder, I have agoraphobia, and I have panic disorder. And the medication really helped get everything under control. I feel like a normal person. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. I am no longer overly anxious for any sort of reason, and it just feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. So obviously my experience with anxiety and with medication is one of many possibilities, but if you guys are struggling with anxiety, I do definitely recommend talking to your doctor. I was very lucky that I had a doctor who listened to me and who took me seriously and who was willing to help me through this, and I still have that same doctor today, and every few months she calls to check up on me and see like how I'm adjusting, if the dosage is still okay and everything. So I really do encourage you guys to push for help if you need it, because it does get better. I honestly never thought that I would feel this way. I'm trying not to get emotional talking about it, but I've had anxiety for years now. I think when I first started having anxiety, I was 14 years old, and at first it was easier to manage, but at a certain point it just got too much for me to handle, and that's when I asked for help from my doctor, and that's when she did help me, and I am so thankful that everything did work out. So that's pretty much why I quit YouTube. I just had a lot of mental health issues, and I was going through a really rough patch in my life. But as of right now, I have graduated my bachelor's. I have also graduated a second program in legal psychology, and I am currently working as a suicide prevention therapist for a nonprofit organization in Montreal. I love my job, I love my life, and I'm just really glad to be in a place where I can appreciate all of that and appreciate the fact that I am better. And I am also happy that I'm in a place where I get to come back and do this. I've been thinking about my return to YouTube for quite a while. If you guys have noticed, the video quality is actually a lot better. I bought a brand new camera. It's a Canon G7X. A lot of people on YouTube use it. The quality is really good and it's easy to use, so I have been using that to kind of practice and get to know the features and everything. And I really hope that you guys like the video quality. If there's like some adjustments that need to be made, or you guys have like just advice or tips and tricks, leave them in the comments down below. I would be really appreciative of them. Sorry if the camera angle is slightly different. I had to plug in my camera because my camera battery was flashing at me. But we have basically reached the conclusion of the video. I didn't want to go too into detail about what I went through just because it's a lot. So I just wanted to give you guys a life update in general, and explain why I've been gone. But I'm very excited to be back to YouTube. I have a new camera, like I mentioned. I also practiced a lot with a new video editing software, which I am very excited to keep on using. And I also have a new video intro and outro like you guys saw and are about to see. So I feel like it's just the right time for me to come back. Mentally, I feel really good. In my reading life in general, I feel really great. And yeah, I'm just happy. I'm just a lot happier now, and I'm very excited to share this journey with you guys. If you guys have any video requests and things that you would like to see on my channel relaunch, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Any suggestion is welcome. I am looking for ways to diversify the channel. I'm going to post a lot of reading vlogs, and I'd like to do themed reading videos and just like a bunch of fun stuff. I'm here to have fun, to enjoy myself, and to share my love of reading with you guys, and I'm super excited to finally get to do that again. I'm really excited for you guys to join me on this ride. So that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for supporting my channel and supporting my return to YouTube. Don't forget to click the subscribe button down below to make sure to never miss a future video of mine. I can't wait to see what the future holds for me and my channel, and I'm so excited to have you guys along for the journey. So until next time, bye book nerds!